Um, Others, bro. For real talk. What's going on, everybody? It's your boy Chris, man. So I'm here doing, uh, talking to Lauren Campbell. We're gonna talk. Oh, here we go. It's all good. Hey, Lauren, how you doing?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm doing good on this wonderful evening. I just want to say thank you for taking your time out to talk to me, allocating your time. Before I start peppering you with questions, I would love to ask you, how are you and your family been doing during these pandemic times?
Good. We've been very fortunate job wise. Um, Most of us are working from home. My mom works in a hospital, so she's really kind of in the brunt of everything.
Hmm.
Um, but my family's healthy. We're all very healthy. Um, so very, very grateful for that, especially, in the middle of a pandemic. What more can you ask for right now?
Absolutely, right? Absolutely. So I want to tell you a little bit about myself, and then pretty much why I wanted to reach out to you. So, as you know, my name is Chris Drummond. I'm a senior at Kennesaw State University. My major is journalism and emerging media. Um, I want to do sports journalism. I love writing, or I love to do broadcasts. I love to do reporting as well, but writing is really where my passion is. But I want to be a triple threat. Um, I did cover some high school football games in the fall as a stringer, and I'm going to be doing that again for publications locally around here for basketball when the high school basketball playoffs start um, here next month. I'm also a staff writer for our magazine, so I've done feature stories, interviews, and I've also covered events, philanthropy events as well. Um, the reason why I wanted to reach out to you is because I want to be able to connect with likewise people, be able to learn about their story, be able to learn about their experiences, be able to gain advice, be a sponge. Because in my mind, you can never stop learning. And when you talk with really talented professionals like yourself, you always want to try to be a sponge, no matter what, because you doing it and you in the game, and it's a place I would like to be one day. So, that's really why I wanted to reach out to you. I was a little afraid, I'm not gonna lie, because it's always kind of a little scary when you hit somebody up that you don't know. But at the end of the day, all you can say is either no or don't reply. But you just never know what kind of responses you'll get from people like that. So I just love connecting with likewise people and talking to people like
That's great. I mean, I'm always happy to connect with people. I've been in the same boat too when, you're reaching out and it's nerve wracking because you don't know how they're going to respond. You don't know if they will respond.
that.
But that's one of the greatest pieces of advice I can give to people in your position is just to network and connect as much as you can because it's super important. There might be positions that open up within a company and somebody was like, oh, Chris reached out to me and he's done so much work and clearly writing is your thing.
Yeah,
Judging from what you just told me, you're really kind of covering all the bases there, and it kind of puts you on their radar before even jobs are even open. And it just puts you, like I said, on their radar to, they'll think of you when a job opens, or if there is a position maybe that will open down the road and they're like, I have someone you can consider.
absolutely, absolutely. So before I wanted to ask this first question. So what exactly is your job title, and what do you do on a day to day basis like that? I should ask first.
So yeah, my official job title is content producer. Um, it's just a fancier term for writer. So I work the night shift, so I usually work like 4 p.m. to midnight. So my night team is we're covering the Boston games, we're covering any Boston breaking news and any like national news too that people read. Um, so we do that. We really go off of like major beat reporters, Adrian Wojnarowski,
Yes,
Shams Charania, those people, and we have to make sure that those sources, that those reports are accurate before we go out there and report on it as well, because we certainly don't want to be putting false information out there.
right.
So we, we scour the internet, we scour Twitter to see what's trending. We've been like, for example, today, some Bruins players spoke as well as Bruce Cassidy. So we hit a lot of those topics throughout the day. Something, let me see, like tonight, I'm doing some leftover Bruins media availability from earlier today. Not so much breaking news, but news that is relevant and that people will read, not so much time sensitive. So, I can work on other projects, I can work on other content throughout the day. Um, and then we just, we sit and we write. We're working from home. As you can see, I'm not in an office right now.
Yeah.
So we've been working from home for the past 10 months, but usually during homestands, we are at TD Garden, we are at Gillette Stadium, covering these games live. So it's obviously very missed right now. It's very different covering a
Absolutely.
game. It's a very different covering a game from your couch than actually being live there. So um, right now it's a little slower because only basketball is here. Football's obviously on, but with the Patriots out, we're not as hyper focused on the Patriot on
Right.
football.
Right.
So
The
we do a
Bruins
lot.
about to start up though, right?
Yeah, Thursday. So we are
Right.
super super excited. And it also adds more stability to your night. So like a night like tonight, there's not a whole lot going on. Even tomorrow, the Celtics game already got postponed for tomorrow.
Yes, it
So
did.
it's not, so it kind of puts a damper on your scheduling. And I'm a very organized person. I need to have things scheduled. So if I know a game is going
Yes.
on, like there's my focus. If anything comes out of that game, that's my responsibility. But a night like tonight, I'm just kind of sitting, scrolling, hoping something's going to happen.
Right.
Hopefully something good. No more like postponements, no more COVID cases.
Right.
Um, more like feel good stories, hopefully. But
Absolutely.
um, it's all about hitting trending news, especially if it's not in your market. People still want to read what's going on in other markets. Just because we're based in Boston doesn't mean that something like they won't want to read about something LeBron James said, something Tom Brady said. We're always going to care what those two people say. So it's something like that where in nights like tonight and maybe the past couple weeks too, we've had to get a little creative because we don't have that constant news flow coming in. Um, so we've done a lot of preview content, some fun prediction content, excuse me. Um, and I've worked on the National Women's Hockey League. I've been working on a content plan with them.
Hmm.
So it's just kind of getting out of your comfort zone and kind of going outside of your creativity box because, especially with COVID, we were all kind of forced to do that because it took away that routine, it took away that kind of schedule, and just kind of caused a lot of chaos because it's like sports aren't happening. So what do sports writers do? And ever since then, I feel like we've really hit the ground running the last 10 months in finding stuff to fill our 8-hour shifts when there's not really much going on.
Right. Right. That's awesome. So yeah, you do it for NESN, right? NESN. Okay.
Yes.
Okay. So that's a New England Sports Network. That's what it is called, right?
Correct.
Okay. Okay. So, um, I want to start off by asking, what made you or inspired you to want to become a reporter slash journalist?
So I was very lucky. I've always known I wanted to write forever. I feel like I knew in high school I was going to go to college for sports journalism. So um, I just really shifted my focus toward like the end of my high school career to working on the newspaper and just covering a crap ton of sports. Just whatever I could get my hands on, I would do. And I did the same thing in college. I covered the college sports teams. I covered any major sports leagues news, um, and that was really, it kind of put me on a path where I knew that sports writing and sports reporting was for me. In college, when you're covering the games, you are right there. You're right there with the players. You're right there with the coaches. Um, COVID, I'm sure, has kind of made that a little bit different these days. Excuse me, but
Mhm.
you're going up to the players after a tough loss or after a huge win. You're getting quotes from coaches, the players, and just like you're there, like you are the reporter. Um, so I did that all through college. I covered all the sports through all the seasons, and then I became the assistant sports editor, eventually the sports editor of the college newspaper. Again, which really helped because you're managing a small staff, but you're still managing people. You're looking
Absolutely.
at the head of the schedules, who can cover what. Um, so it kind of also puts you in a position where you're like, well, maybe I'll never have to do this, but if I do, like that's one more thing to put on my resume is that you manage a small staff of people.
Yeah.
And so I also did a couple of internships as well through college with NBC Sports. I did one with them. I did one with a couple local newspapers. Um, but I knew that the sports world was where I wanted to be. So I got very lucky in knowing that. But also, it kind of, I think to myself, looking back, if I could have maybe branched out a little more in college, which sounds like what you're doing with like all your feature stories and all these publications you're writing for. I kind of wish I did that because my very first job out of college, I was writing for a technology company.
Okay.
Um, so I know, and it was like like light fixtures, projectors, stuff that I've never even thought about writing about. But
Right.
no, I was in that boat where it's a job right out of college, it's a full-time job, and it's in my field. So I'm just gonna take it.
Okay.
So it was fun. I did get to travel a little bit. So it was an experience, but I did not really love it. And I knew instantly this was not my career. This is not where I was going to grow as a person with this company. But then I started blogging for this company called CLNS. It stands for Celtics Late Night Show.
Okay.
And they were a smaller startup when I started. Probably three, no, like 5 years ago. I started there. I was there for 3 years. And it was unpaid, and I knew that, and I was fine because I was fortunate to be in a position where I still lived at home. I was working a part-time job that I had through college, so I could afford to, put 40 hours into something I wasn't going to get paid for. But we were covering games as if we were there. We were covering breaking news. We were hosting podcasts, and I really, really found like my identity there because
Yeah.
I was able to grow. I was able to use my creativity. We didn't really have a ton of restrictions. We obviously couldn't go and bash like John Henry, the owner of the Red Sox, and be like, he sucks. He's the worst ever. Like,
Right. Right.
you should be doing that anyway when you work
Right.
at a company. But it really allowed you to branch out. And then I continued to find other blogs to write for, basically just getting myself out there, promoting all of my work because you want to write, and so that's what you're good at.
Yeah.
And I showcase my strengths through my writing. So I just continued to blog and blog and blog. Literally for 3 years, I was with CLNS, and I was with a bunch of other random blogs. Most of them, my friends owned, and my friends really were just like, just get on here and write, like do whatever. So, and it was great because I also, at that same time, I was working my part-time job still, and I also was taking full-time jobs, but they were not jobs that I loved. They were jobs that I took because they were full time.
Right.
Like
Pay the bill.
anything. Like I was literally working as an account manager for a glass company that had nothing to do with writing. It was full time. It paid well, and I was like, whatever. I'll just do this for a little while. But I was like, I'm so unhappy doing this, even though I'm
Right.
still writing. But I was just I was just taking jobs to take jobs because at that point, 3 years in, I was like 26, 27. I was like, I gotta move out of my mom's at some point. So, and just one part-time job wasn't going to be able to do it. So
I
I
understand
just,
that.
yeah, it's tough, but I just consistently and constantly just put anything that I had in my mind about sports. I put it in a blog and I just posted it. I blasted it all over my social media. And I really started to build an audience. I started to build a solid portfolio of game coverage, of
Yeah.
quotes from players. Um, and finally, I was sitting down. I was at my full time job that I was really unhappy at, and I got a LinkedIn message from the NESN HR department saying that they had an open position and they're looking for people, and they thought it'd be a good fit. And I was like, this has to be some sort of sign because I'm like rattling in my brain. Like I need to give this place my 2 weeks notice because I'm not happy. I'm not feeling fulfilled, and that's not fair to me or this company. So I went and I interviewed, and I like 2 weeks later I got laid off from that job, and then the next day I got the offer from NESN. So it's crazy how it all came together. It was such a sense of relief because I knew for the last 3 years I put so much work into free journalism, and like I said, I was in a position to do that. So I was very, very fortunate. But I know not everyone is in a position like that. But just looking back, I was like, if I could accumulate all the articles I've done, like that I blogged for over the last 3 years before I got to NESN,
Yeah.
it's probably about the same amount of stories I've done it with NESN in the last. I've been with NESN for almost 3 years now, so it's probably about the same amount of stories. And it's just like it's just crazy to me that just blogging and just not settling got me to where I want to be.
Wow.
And I always say like it's only just begun, but I love my job. I love what I do.
Mhm.
It's so cliche, but it literally doesn't feel like work some nights because it's like I get to watch games, I get to go to games when it's safe. Um, like we really do have such a really fun job, and it can be stressful, of course. Like what job isn't? But at
Right.
the end of the day, it's like you're providing content to people out there. People are reading your content, and it's like it's just a weird fulfillment because it's like people want to know what's going on, and you are the reason that they are knowing what's going on.
Oh no, that's awesome that you say that because um, right now I work full time for the lottery out here in Georgia. I have full time classes. I have 7 classes this semester, and I also have a part time job where I do event security as well at my school because we got sports and basketball games. So I definitely understand. I do love the security. I don't really love the lottery job. I really don't, but it pays the bills and it helps out. So I totally can understand what you're talking about. And you know, um, just a short story before I ask you the next question. My first internship, I had an internship with the Knoxville Ice Bears. So it was a hockey team, and I had never been to Knoxville. Never been to Knoxville, and this was about 4 years ago. And they called me because I went to the Atlanta Falcons career fair, gave my resume, cover letter. They said, "Hey, Chris, come up here, do the rest of the season." It was from December to April, and I was like, "Yeah, sure." So it was like a game day operation. But at the time, I was living at home. I was at the time because I was a 20, uh, I was 23, going on 24, um, and now I'm 28, so I'm 28 now as a senior. But I was 23, 24 going on to that, so I was like a freshman. I started kind of late in school, but I went, but I had no car. I was living at home, and I had to figure out how I was getting up to Knoxville. So I don't know if you're familiar with the Megabus, but I would take the Atlanta Megabus to Knoxville, take the Knoxville Transit to my hotel, pay for my hotel, and for 3.5 months I would continue to do that while still going to school. While I wasn't doing 7 classes then, but I was doing full time school, and I was also doing full time work, but I was at a different position. I was in a call center where I was working 8 to 5, Sunday through Thursday. My Friday, Saturdays, I was in Knoxville. And I did that for 3.5 months. I would take an Uber to the MARTA station, and when the MARTA station catch the megabus to there and back and forth. Now, during this time, I would say probably halfway through, I was saying to myself, what the hell am I doing this for? Because I really want to be in sports, but I don't know if I want to do this sport. And I don't know if I really want to be in sports this bad. I was really questioning it because at that time, I wasn't a journalism major. I wanted to be a math major and coach,
Oh
but
wow.
really love sports. So I was like, okay, I need to figure out what I want to do in the sports realm. But I knew doing that internship, I didn't want to do that. So I ended up finishing it because I said I never quit anything that I started. So I ended up finishing the internship. And then after that, I switched my major to journalism and emerging media. Now, fast forward 4 years later, I have my own place now. I have my own car now. I'm a senior now. Last spring semester, I graduated in the summer, and I also have gotten the opportunity to get some writing done on the collegiate level published and on the local level published. But it was all because of that experience of learning what not to do as far as what following the sport, and also going through that experience, realizing that how dedicated I was. Because I really, you got to be dedicated to catch some mega buses back and forth. Those mega bus trips is brutal. Um, 4 hours on the bus like that back and forth. But it's something that I really wanted to do.
And that's awesome. I think that shows right there like how dedicated and how much you know that this is what you wanted to do and you made it work. I feel like there's so many times that people make excuses for, whatever reason. They'll find any excuse, and you're out here, you had said you had no car, you were taking
Yeah.
trains, you're taking like the public transit to get what you needed to get done, and it's obviously like it's put you in a really good spot right now.
Absolutely, because it showed me that that you definitely need work ethic, you definitely need dedication. You really gotta love this to want to do it. A lot of people see you and they say, okay, you're writing, you're going to games, you're covering games, and you're working in sports, and it's the glitz and glamour, but they really don't understand how hard that you worked to get there, how hard you work as a content producer, as a writer, and covering games. And I do understand that because it's hard to get content in college from some of these players and some of these people. So I can just
Yeah.
imagine is when you're trying to cover professional teams, and some of these guys are just having very awkward days, bad days, and or it's bad games, and you got to write it. It's just tough. So I respect what you do. I admire what you do, and it's truly, like I said, something that I appreciate. So, ooh, excuse me, sorry. Um, but with that being said, I wanted to ask you: was there ever a time? So this is a great segue. Was there ever a time that you did not want to do sports reporting? And if so, how did you show the? How did you exhibit the resiliency to not quit?
I don't think there was ever a time I said I didn't want to. I think there was times where I was like, this isn't going to happen because it's just so tough, and I don't know how much more I can do this for free. Um,
Oh yeah,
but it was really tough. But my mom is super supportive of me. She's always pushing me. My grandmother is same thing. She's always just like pushing me, and you know, my friends too, like they would someone just be like, if you want to give up, like fine, we know how hard you work, but at the same time, like if you give up, you're just going to be in this miserable position for the rest of your life. You're going to be bouncing from full-time job to full-time job because you know what you want, you know what you're looking for in life, but you gave up on that. And you're so passionate. Like my whole life has been about sports. I grew up playing them. I grew up in a baseball household. We watched hockey all the time growing up. Um, so like all I knew really was sports. And they are my friends, my family. They were always just like, your passion and who you really are comes out in your writing. And maybe if you want to give up on sports writing and maybe try something else, but like you can't give up on journalism. Like this is
right,
like feel like this is what you're supposed to do. But
right,
I certainly had times when I'm like, I'm never gonna break through. I'm never gonna get there. And it sucks because it's obviously what we want to do, and it's so hard. And after 3 years, when you've been doing it and you've been blogging and you've been putting so many hours of your life into something for free, and it just kind of wears on you because even though it's fun, it's still like I'm not getting paid. And I needed to move out. I needed to
yeah,
continue to like still grow and
absolutely,
like grow in my life. um but it was just like the biggest blessing that came at the best time because I did like of course I did want to give up. I think a lot of people, not just in journalism but in any career, kind of feel that way where it's really has you questioning because it's going to test you. It's going to test your limits. It's going to test your strength. And if it wasn't like if I didn't have a good support system, I probably wouldn't be at NESN. I probably wouldn't be sports writing. It's all about who you surround yourself with because anyone could have just been like, yeah, well, I support you and you'll find a good job. And they are just
right,
like, oh, like you're not going to give up on something you've worked your entire life for. Like you've worked
absolutely,
for 20 years, you've known that you want to do sports writing. And all of a sudden you're just going to be like, it's too hard. Like,
right, right.
so having that huge support system was so helpful because like I said, if I didn't have them, there's no way that I would have continued.
Absolutely. I totally resonate with that. You definitely got to have a great support system. It's great that your support system is your family and your friends, because you know that they're going to tell you the truth. You know they're going to stand by you no matter what decisions that you make. And you know this is what you want to do, so you just wanted to work hard and try to achieve it, and you're doing it now, which is great, which is awesome. I wanted to piggyback off that question and ask you, how does a journalist get reliable sources? Sources is very tough to come by, because you got to get people to trust you to get the good content that you need, or to find the angle, or the antidote of some of a story that's worth writing. So, how does one get good, credible sources?
It's all about building relationships. So you have, your sources, and you want to be able to make sure you can talk to them other times. So you don't just want to always go to them when you want or need information.
Exactly.
Because then they don't. That's not a way to build trust. Even if it's just like, hey, happy holidays, or hey, congrats on this new milestone, or just like, hey, I heard you guys got a huge snowstorm. Hope you're doing okay. Just like making yourself personable and available to these people, because they are people too, and they hold a lot of information, and they don't want that information to go to somebody bad. Unfortunately, there are people out there who want to just kind of snake that information out of people and use it to their advantage, or take advantage of the sources that they have. And that really tarnishes that source, and it tarnishes a lot of journalists too, because that one source could be everyone's source. It could be 10 people's source, and then if one person ruins that, that source could just be like, sorry, I don't want to talk to anybody anymore. Like, you don't want that. So it's just connecting with these people as if they're people, and not just someone that holds a really juicy piece of information for a story, or just has any information in general. Because the more rapport you build with somebody, they'll go to you first with a story, or something like, hey, this is what's going to happen tomorrow at 11,
Right.
just so you can have something prepped and you can have it out right away. But then again, that goes back to that they're trusting you to not break that story 24 hours prior. So just showing that you're trustworthy, showing that you care about these people, and you care about them. Like, you see them more than just a source. You see them as your person, your friend, and just somebody you can just be like, hey, what's up? Just wanted to check in today. I think that's super important, because that kind of goes along with what we said earlier about building relationships with not just people in this business, but those sources too, because they'll be very helpful to you down the line.
Absolutely. Okay, I like that. That's wonderful advice. That's great advice. Because me myself, covering games, doing feature stories. I've done a couple feature stories in college, and it's tough to get information, because when you're interviewing somebody, you got to go through the SID, then you got to go through this. It seems like you got to go A B C D E just to get to player, and it's like when you get to the player, they want to limit your time. They want to do, excuse me, they want to limit your time. They want to limit this. They want to limit that, and it's like you feel rushed. And sometimes I know one time for certain I felt kind of rushed, because I'm like, man, you know, I'm a very organized person. So I'm a person that I will give you days in advance, times in advance, because I know my schedule. I know what I need to do. I know I allocate time to do homework, I allocate time for free time, and all that kind of stuff. And sometimes people are just not cooperative, and it's very difficult. So it's hard to get sources like that. So that's why I asked the question. So, but that was a great answer. I really love that. What has been your favorite uh memory as far as events to cover, and why?
My favorite, I'd have to be the probably the 2018 World Series, because the Red Sox won. It
They did.
was a historic season in and of itself. I grew up a giant Red Sox fan. Like, they are my number one team. My grandmother is obsessed with the Red Sox, so it was just a very cool moment, and to be able to be part of that was super super cool. Um, that whole season in general was just so fun. Um, so to bring that to life, that was crazy. It was one of the craziest nights I've had. It was so late. It was just so fun. Um, and also probably the 2019 Stanley Cup. It wasn't as fun because the Bruins lost in Game 7, so that certainly really sucks, in a number of different ways. Obviously, as a fan, and as a reporter too, because it's like, now what? Like, what? I have to go talk to these guys after they lost the Stanley Cup, or after even not even the Stanley Cup, but they lose a huge game. Like,
Right.
it totally takes a lot of, not momentum, but like, you have all these like ideas going, and then you can't bring them to life because of the outcome. But and also like this past year Stanley Cup playoffs were so much different than the past.
Without question, that round robin was crazy.
It
No
was
doubt.
it was just so weird, and it's obviously weird because we're not used to it. Um, and if you told me 2 years ago that you're like, hey, in 2 years you're going to be covering the Stanley Cup final from your couch in your pajamas, I would have laughed in your face and been like, yeah, okay, like that'll never happen.
Right.
And it did. It's just it's so crazy that we covered some of the biggest games of the NHL from home.
Right.
It's not there. So it was just those three in particular for different reasons. But definitely the Red Sox World Series for obviously because they won. And that was also my first year at NESN. I think I was there for like 8 or 9 months. So it was a really cool way to like start baseball season, and a really good introduction like for covering sports baseball professionally for the first time. So it was so cool. Like if I could go back and do that season all over again, I would do it 100 times over.
They were a dominant team that season. Without
Yeah.
question. I do remember that, no doubt. So I asked you about your favorite memories. Let me ask you about event. What is an event that you would like to cover, but you simply haven't yet, and why?
Um, I would say the Super Bowl. Um,
Wow.
so
Okay.
I got lucky. Um, my first year, I was able to have the night off. I worked a morning shift somehow, some way. So that was really cool. It was the Patriots Rams, I believe.
It was.
Uh,
It was in Atlanta.
so that was yes. So that was like I obviously did not cover the game, and then the other Super Bowls I've been on, like my shift has been falling on those days, but um, it's not as exciting when it's not the Patriots. So it's not that same like, and we weren't like there, so we weren't covering live, like we were just in the studio. Um, so probably a Super Bowl because I love covering football games live. It's always very chaotic in a really good way. Um, I covered Patriots Chiefs last year when the Chiefs won the AFC East. So just kind of being caught up in that chaos in the locker room and just everyone screaming and yelling and being excited. I can only imagine that it's 100 times more amplified in a Super Bowl. So, and I just love being on site and not being able to hear myself think because everyone's so loud. There's so much going on, and it's just like it's literally chaos. Like but it makes it like just get this adrenaline rush, and I get it all the time after covering live games that you want to bring out those stories, you want to get there, and you want to be in the middle of the celebrations and just take it all in because it's going to make for the best memories, and it's also going to make for really great stories that people want to read.
Hmm, I like that. Okay, Super Bowl. Hmm, interesting. I'm pretty, the Patriots. I'm not sure when they're gonna go back.
Yeah,
But hopefully soon. Hopefully soon.
hopefully.
Hopefully soon. The next question I have is for about um being able to be a reporter that's always on the go. So my thing is how realistic is it that you get a job and you stay in the same area, or is it better to continue to move for work?
So I'm still in Boston. I've been in Massachusetts my whole life.
Okay.
So my answer will be a little biased because like I said, I haven't moved.
Okay.
Um I always say like have an open mind, kind of go where the wind takes you
Hmm.
because there's so many major markets out there. Seattle's gonna have a hockey team next year.
They are
So
the Kraken. Yep.
it's going to be that's going to be a whole new market out there. Obviously, LA is obviously a huge market. You have Miami, but even the smaller markets too. Like just there's so many sports teams. There's sports teams everywhere.
Yep.
So if you are able to get up and go, absolutely go ahead and do it. Take every opportunity to explore a new city, a new state, a new team. Um, but if you're comfortable and you have a job, like, and this is what you really love, then stay. If you don't have a good reason to leave, don't. Unless it's a move that's going to really advance your career, then absolutely go for it. But I it's going to be really hard to take me out of Boston. I love it here.
Mhm.
I oh I went to Denver 2 years ago and I fell in love with Denver. I was like, it's probably the only place that could call me right now and be like, hey, like we have this job offer. I'm like, oh, I'm on my way. But I love it here. I love the teams, obviously. I love the atmosphere at games. I love meeting different beat writers and different reporters from all over.
Yeah.
So it's really, really fun. I mean, I don't know what the future holds. I could be at NESN for 3 more years. I could be there for life. I could be there for 3 more months.
You
It's
never
always
know.
good to have an open mind in this field because sports are everywhere. There's no telling where this field will take you. And if
Mhm.
you can have that open mind and, just wherever the wind takes you and you land there, that's great. I well, like I said, I got lucky to be able to stay in my market that I grew up in, that I'm very familiar with, and I was very open to relocating to in my job search early. So, if you're in a position to do that, if you're in a position to be able to just say, you know what, I don't I don't know how long I'm going to be in this specific market. I'm going to see what else is out there. Absolutely do it.
I like that. I do. That's another reason why I wanted to talk to you because of the market that you're in. Boston is such a great sports town. Um,
Mhm.
I've never personally been to Boston, but well, okay, I've been to the airport, but that's about it. But I've never explored the city as far as Boston goes. But I've always heard great things, and it's definitely a place I wouldn't mind coming to work and be around because it's just I've heard such great things about the city, great sports teams, and it's definitely one of the big markets without question. So that's why I also wanted to reach out to you as well. Um, this next question is set up is about interviews. Now, I have a love hate relationship with teamwork online, work in sports, and different things like that because I feel like when I get my resume and my cover letter together, that I feel like I'm sending it out to space. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Just nobody sees it, or when they do see it, it's 3 months later, and it's like, oh well, the position's been filled. So, I had kind of like a theory that some of these companies, or I would say most of these companies, uh, just post uh, these postings for legal purposes because they already have their inside man or inside woman for the job. So my question to you is, what is the best way to get an interview with companies? Is it just going online? Is it emailing producers, directors, and sending in a resume? Or is it talking with talented professionals like yourself, building the connection?
I think it's a little all of the above.
Hmm.
It's so hard to stand out in a pile of resumes because when that job's posted, I'm sure they're getting bombarded and it's hard to really stand out. Um, I feel that you stand out more in your cover letter than you do in a resume. That in a cover letter, you can really showcase your strengths, you can showcase what you can bring to the specific company, what you are as a teammate, how you are in an office setting as a team, as an individual. That cover letter really brings to life who you are instead of the resume. Um, so if you can put together that cover letter, it's like, here's what I can bring to the company, here's why I'd be a good fit, here's why you should hire me, here's how my experience has helped me and prepare me for the specific position, here are things that I've done that are in the job description. It's, even though they get that from a resume, but if you're it's that cover letter, I just you can be more of yourself in that cover letter. Your personality really shines through a cover letter. If there are emails and like phone numbers of directors, of hiring managers, absolutely reach out to them because that's that personal connection you have there. Unless it says no phone calls, but I know a lot of like those job applications say no phone calls. But if
Yeah, a lot of them do.
you can find an email of a person or even LinkedIn and just kind of shoot them a message, just like, hey, I just wanted to introduce myself. I applied for this job. Um, just want to know if there's anything more I can do, anything like that where you're making that personal connection. And again, making connections, like you and me are doing right now and you are doing with others as well. Like I said in the beginning, this is going to put you on the map where it's like, oh, I spoke to Chris and I think he'd be a really great fit because he told me about these feature stories he wrote. And this is primarily feature writing. So this would be really, really good. Um, and it's all about, it's really, it's so cliche, but it's who you know. And it really is, because you know you can make a million connections, and it's just still, then it's like never stop making those connections, because if you don't, you're just, another person sending a resume, and it's like, who's this person? Oh, never heard of that person. But the more connections you make, the more markets too that are like, oh, like, I spoke to this person. Oh, I spoke to this person too, but I'm in, Miami, and this person's in Boston. Like, wow, he's really doing his work to really build himself and build his connection base, and just kind of give himself a better chance at getting a job after college.
I like it. I do. Because to me, it is about the building, the connection part. It's just, my thing is that every time that you apply for a job, you don't want to, do too much. And what I mean is, and this is a follow up question. Like, when is too much too much? Like, if you're emailing a director or you're emailing somebody that's in the hiring position, how many emails would you send? Like, for me, I think I would send maybe once a week, then follow up the following week. But if I don't hear nothing after that second week, I probably wouldn't send another email. What do you think about
Yeah, I would say no more than three. I think a follow up is really good, just because sometimes that does get lost.
it? Yep.
It's very possible that it was just overlooked by mistake, or maybe they just hadn't gotten back to you yet. But, I would do, you get the original, that first email, a
Yep.
week later, you do a follow up, and then maybe two
Yeah.
weeks later, you do the third. And then after that, if you don't hear anything, just like, that's enough. There's no reason to keep bombarding these people, in my opinion, anyway. Um,
Mhm.
Especially if you're not hearing back. Like, if you hear back after a second one where it's like, we're
Right.
still in the process, like, at least you're hearing back. But I think three emails is plenty to at least tell you no. I think that was really frustrating about any job hunt, where you don't even hear back, where it's like, it takes 2 seconds to say, we're going with a different candidate.
Exactly.
And it puts you at ease too, because you're not sitting there waiting. You're not sitting checking your phone every 10 seconds, seeing if that email came through. So, I think any chance you have to get a response, absolutely do it.
I appreciate that. I really do. That's what's up. I like that. What is the best advice that someone has given you as an up and coming person in the sports media industry, or what is the best advice that you can give someone that's coming up, like myself, in the sports media
So
industry?
in Yeah, during my college graduation, we had this amazing speaker, and college speeches are very long and drawn out. But what she said, like, at the end, really stuck with me. She said, "Do what you have to do so you can do what you want to do," um, and that really stuck with me, even through when I was doing all that free blogging, where it's like, I have to do this to get to where I need to be. And even, when I thought about giving up on this, it was, I'm doing what I have to do. Um, and I think that can be said about a lot of things. Like, we have to make a lot of sacrifices. We have to do a lot of things that maybe we don't want to do, but we have to, because it's going to make our lives better. Um, so I think that's an incredibly strong piece of advice that I would be more than happy to pass on. Just do what you have to do so you can do what you want. Um,
Mm,
and also, just like, never stop making those connections, because they are so helpful. I've never met anyone in this business who doesn't want to help. They are always so helpful with giving advice, especially, younger, older, way older. It's
right.
amazing people are still in this business that want to help. And I think that's very unique, because there are people out there who are just so snobby, and so, like, I'm better than you. Like, they never started from somewhere, like, started from scratch, or started at
Right.
the bottom trying to figure out, like, how to get through college and professional life. Um, so keep making those connections, reach out to anyone and everyone. It can't hurt. The worst they can do is say no. Um, and just also never lose confidence in yourself, no matter how hard this path gets, because it is a hard field, but it's so fun and it's so rewarding, and you're good at it. And it's easy to lose a little bit of confidence here and there, especially in the job hunt. So never lose confidence, because it just it's a slippery slope from there. And like you're a good writer, and you know your strengths, and like you need to be confident in that going forward, even when it gets really tough, because it's just like I said, it's a slippery slope. You don't want to go down that road when you're like, oh,
Right.
this isn't gonna work. Like I was down that road. Um, so just yeah, make the connections, keep your confidence, and do what you have to do so you can do what you want to do.
I really like that, Lauren. I really like that. Do what you have to do what you want to do. Because for me, it's all about the journey to get to this point. But then when you get there, it's about enjoying the process. Because anything that you do in life is going to be different. It's going to be difficult times, right?
Yes.
It's going to be difficult times, but the pros always outweigh cons when you do something that you really love to do. And this is what I love to do more than anything. I love to be a sponge. I love connecting with people. I love writing. I love sports and with a passion. And I love connecting with likewise people and staying in touch with people like yourself. Um, I am a writer, as you know, and I would love at some point to send you some of my samples so I can get some of your critiques. Um, I think that would be awesome and great. It'll make me become a better writer. And then yeah, I would love for you to look over it. I know you are super busy, and I totally understand because year-round sports at NESN is all the time. But I'm a very patient person, so whenever you can hit me back, I would love that.
Absolutely. You have my personal email, so please send any and all writings you want to write over. Be more than happy to take a look. And I think that's very important too, that you want those critiques, because that's what helps you grow as a writer. It's not
Yeah,
being told, oh, this is great, this is great. Like it's obviously great to hear, but when you can correct, even if it's the smallest thing, if you can correct that going forward, it's like, oh, this person helped me do that, and it
yeah,
helped grow even the slightest bit. And like you said, you want to be a sponge, and a lot of that is getting that critique in your work too. It helped me grow a lot getting edits, and it's very important not to take any edits, critiques, or anything personally,
nope,
um, because everyone's just trying to help everyone grow and be the best writer they can be, because that's why we're in this business.
absolutely. And you never can take stuff personally. Constructive criticism is great. I'm not the best thing smoking when it comes to writing, so I already know that I just want everybody's critique. But also, I know that different people critique different ways. And there's some sports editors that critique one way, and some sports editors that critique another way. So it's always good to have different people kind of
Right.
on different things, because what one may miss, one may, get. So I love different people looking at my stuff, and I would be definitely happy, appreciative if you did for sure. Um,
Of course.
I am following. I know you following me. I think you follow me on LinkedIn. I am following you on Twitter, and I believe I'm on Instagram. I don't know if I have you on Instagram, but I'm definitely going to follow you there. Those are my three main socials that I
Yep.
use. I definitely
Perfect.
follow you on all of those and keep in touch as well.
Yeah,
Um,
definitely. I'm I have my phone with me all the time, so whenever you need anything, just I'm a message away. Twitter and email is probably the easiest to get a hold of me.
mhm.
Just because I have those notifications on. Most of the time my phone's just on do not disturb.
Okay.
But Twitter, I do have the notifications on, so they do come in.
Absolutely, absolutely. I would definitely add you on those, and I'll definitely keep that in mind. But you've been absolutely helpful with a lot of your answers tonight. Definitely appreciate it. I don't have any more questions at the moment. If you want to say anything else that may be helpful, you certainly can. But Lauren, this has been absolutely great. I'm very happy that I got a chance to talk to you for sure.
Yeah, me too. Thank you so much for reaching out. I'm always happy to connect, and I'm always happy to provide advice. Like I said, I was in your shoes at one point, going through the motions, going through college and jobs, and just figuring it all out and trying to get into this business. So keep doing what you're doing. I think you're doing a fantastic job. It's obviously very obvious that you want to be in this business.
I do.
You're doing everything right. You are you're perfectly like on the right path. And just keep doing what you're doing, because it's going to get you a lot farther than you think.
Absolutely. And and just one final, I did, I'll definitely love. Obviously, graduation's coming around the corner. If there's anything in Boston, doesn't have to be at NESN, but it could be anywhere that you might hear, because I'm always looking for different postings down the line. If there's anything that's not posted, or maybe something that you hear in your ears, I would love to know about it and possibly see about it, because like I said, Boston is a town that's a great sports town, and I would love to see about. I've never been there, so it'd be great to go visit there for a possible interview as well. So I always tell people about when I connect with them, whether they are looking to expand either here in Georgia or wherever they are. I'll
Right.
definitely keep my ears open.
Yeah, absolutely. I'll certainly keep my eyes open for you, and I'll see, if anything kind of catches my eye, I'll certainly send it your way for sure, whether it's Nesson or even a competitor. Like, I'll
Right.
see, like I said, I'll keep my eyes open for you for sure.
I appreciate that, Lauren. Well, you enjoy the rest of your Monday night, and I'm pretty sure you're probably going to check out the national championship game that's coming on soon.
Yep.
Yeah, have a great night. Thanks again, and we'll be in touch.
Great. Have a good one.
Take care. Bye.
Bye.